All right, I'll need you all working with me, following along.
Okay.
Tutorials. Today is April 6, 2017. We'll do some work with some decimals today. We're going to start with multiplying whole numbers times decimals. And we're going to talk a little bit about the break apart method. We'll talk about the regular method as well. Okay, break apart is writing it in expanded form is what it's doing. So I have the whole number 21. I have a row for 20 and a row for 1. The number 64 hundredths, I have 6 tenths and 4 hundredths. And then we just multiply like a multiplication chart where whatever would meet here is what we would do. So our ones are very easy. 6 tenths times 1 is 6 tenths. 4 hundredths times 1 is 4 hundredths. Okay. Now the reason this is a cool method to do is because you should be able to multiply 6 times 2 in your head. When you multiply 6 times 2 in your head, you get 12. So we'd add a 0 at the back. We'd get 12. And how many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem?
1.
1. So there needs to be 1 behind it in the answer. Okay, so there needs to be 1 behind it in the answer. We have 4 times 20, which is, or 4 times 2, which is 8. And a 0 on the end. How many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem? 2. Needs to be 2 in the answer. And then it's just a matter of adding them up. Lining up the decimal points when we add and subtract. So we get 12, 0 and 6 tenths, 0 and 8 tenths, 0 and 4 hundredths. So 4, 14. So did you get 13 and 44 hundredths?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, another way, the way that I taught you doing it the standard way, but if you ever saw a problem that said use the break apart method, that's how you do it. Just make it an expanded form, fill in each block, and add them up, making sure you line up your decimal points. But I've also taught you to take it and ignore the decimal points, where we rewrite it and do 21 times 64, and we'll come back and put the decimal points in later. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Put a 0. 6. 12. 4. 14. 2 numbers behind the decimal in the problem. 2 numbers behind it in the answer. Where you guys try and do crazy things there. When you try and do crazy things is you want to line up the decimal points when you multiply, and you don't have to do that. That makes it way more difficult. Then you want to multiply with a 0 there. Ignore it. Just write it how it is. Ignoring the decimal points, and then come back and put the decimal points in at the end. Okay, so hopefully you've done all 3 of these. Caitlin, what did you get for this problem?
I got 59 and 200.
Okay, 59 and 200. I don't know, we'll look at it. 3.7. What would I round that to? 4. So if I wanted to get an idea of what my answer should be around, if I multiplied 16 times 4, my answer should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 64. Is it going to be more than 64 or less than 64? Less. Because this factor is 4 is greater than 3.7. So what I'm actually going to multiply by is less than 4. So my answer is going to be, my product is going to be less than 64. We could do it the break apart method if you wanted to. If you wanted to, or we could multiply 16 times 37. Either way is going to work. 7 times 6 is 13. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 1? 7, 1 plus 4.
14.
7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 4 is?
11.
Okay, just put a 0. Now I'm going to my tens place. 6 times 3 is? 18.
Oh, I did it wrong.
Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is? Plus 1 is?
Oh,
Add, we have 2, 9. And there's one number behind the decimal point in the problem, so it should be 59 and 2
so I got it
tenths.
correct.
Okay, 59 and 2 tenths,
Oh, I
not
got
2
that,
hundredths. So
but I don't know what I did different.
you didn't know what you did
I meant
different?
to say tenths, though.
I know you did. All right, and this last one, 34 times 41 hundredths. What? Oh my gosh. Hey babe, what's up? To your room, what are you doing? That's all right. Either one's fine. Okay. No, the sleeveless one's probably. Okay. All right, love you too, baby. Bye. All right. So who did I call him? What did we get for this one?
I got 13.94.
Okay. So is my product going to be less than or greater than 34? Less. Why?
Because that's
Okay. Because I'm multiplying by less than 1. Am I multiplying by less than a half? Is 41 hundredths less than a half? Yes. So my answer is going to be less than half of 34. Half of 34 is 17. So my answer is going to be less than 17. So again, all I'd have to do, multiply 34 times 41. Two numbers behind the decimal point in the answer, or in the problem, two numbers behind it in the answer. Makes sense. Makes sense. Alright, so let's look at let's do some division. So solve this. So solve that at your desk, and then we'll go over that. Yes. So solve 45 and 8 tenths divided by 4. 45 and 8 tenths divided by 4. If you're working at home, solve it as well. We'll go over it and you can check it. God bless you, Caitlin. You didn't even get snot all over yourself this time. All right, the 4, Jamie, the 4 is called what? Good, the divisor. Excellent. The 45 and 8 tenths is called the dividend. And the answer to a division problem is called?
The quotient.
The quotient. Very good. All right, so when we're dividing with decimals on the dividend, just move it straight up. Can I say it all the time? Yes. And if I don't, you remind me. Okay, then, I want to make sure I know how many numbers need to be up here. So, does 4 go into 4? Yes. That means I'm going to have a tens place, a ones place, and a tenths place. So let's take 4 goes into 4 how many times?
One.
Once.
Oh,
Bring down my 5. 4 goes into 5 how many times? Once. 1 times 4 is 4, subtract 1. Bring down the 8. 4 goes into 18, how many times?
4 times.
4 times. 4 times 4 is 16, subtract 2.
okay, correct. I thought I got it right.
Jamie,
Add a 0.
add a 0, good. I don't want 11 and 4 tenths remainder 2. I want to add that 0, because remember, I can add a 0 to the back of this without changing the value. Now I can do 4 goes into 20 how many times? 5. So my quotient is 11 and 45 hundredths. 11 and 45 hundredths.
I forgot to add this.
Yeah, that's why I gave this problem. Just to make sure we remembered that we can add the 0 at the end. Let's look at the next one here. 2 and 52 hundredths divided by 3. 2 and 52 hundredths divided by 3. Yes, ma'am.
Can you divide 3 by 2?
Can I divide 2 by 3?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Caitlin, does 3 go into 2?
no.
No. Decimal point comes straight up. Caitlin, is 3 going to go into 25?
Yeah.
Yes. Not evenly, but it's going to. So I'm going to have at least go out to the hundredths place.
It's going to go in there.
How many times does 3 go into 25?
5.
5 times 3 is 15.
Oh, sorry. It's going to go in there 4 times.
Good. 8 times.
Oh,
8 times 3 is
24.
24. Subtract. 3 goes into 12 how many times? 4.
4.
Do I need to add a 0? Why not? Good. There's nothing. I only have a 0 down here, so I don't need to add anything. If I added a 0, it's just going to put a 0 above it. And remember, those zeros at the end don't equal anything. But I'm not sure. Lizzie, I'm not sure if this is correct. How would I find out if it's correct? I called on you, Lizzie. You don't have to raise your hand.
11 and 4,500.
No, we're doing this problem.
Oh, okay. 0 and 84 hundredths times 3.
Good. 84 hundredths times 3. So I take my quotient, multiply it by my divisor, and I want to get my dividend. So my dividend was 2 and 52 hundredths. So this needs to be 2 and 52 hundredths in order to prove that I got this right. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 carry the 1. 24 plus 1 is 25. 2 numbers behind the decimal point. Boom, shakalaka. 2 and 52 hundredths. Boom, shakalaka. Yeah, that's what I said. I said boom, shakalaka.
If you multiply and it doesn't get the answer, does that mean you're wrong?
That either means you've multiplied wrong or you've divided wrong somewhere along the way. You've made a mistake in one area or the other if your product doesn't equal your dividend. Yes, ma'am? I don't know. I think it went like on vacation or something. All right, so I want you to do 2 of them now. So do those 2 problems. Those of you following along at home, do them as well. And then I'll call in somebody who I don't think is paying attention and make them embarrass themselves as they go, "Oh, I didn't know you wanted us to do it." Not that I'm talking about Lizzie.
That's what my brothers do. I don't want to be like my grandpa, okay? Just to get away from home. What? This is, yeah. Wait, I need to erase it. Oh, it didn't work. I'm messing up.
Jamie, the 5 is called the divisor. The 8 and 65 hundredths is called the dividend. Excellent. And we're trying to find the quotient. Man, you are sharp, Jamie. Not like a knife or something like that. Sharp, being smart and stuff.
I got the answer. Haha, I did before that.
8 and 65 hundredths divided by 5. So I'm going to call on Lizzie.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing, Lizzie? Good. Okay, so we move our decimal point straight up. Hey, Lizzie,
What?
does 5 go into 8?
Yes.
Yes, which means I'm going to have a number in the ones place, tenths place,
And
hundredths place. Am I going to need to add a 0, you think? How could you tell?
I don't know.
You don't know because it ends in a 5. If it ends in a 5 or a 0, I'm not going to have to add anything more. It's going to go in without needing anything else. Yes, ma'am.
Can you make a poster on the, you know, where you're like, oh, you can't divide it by 4 because there's a certain thing in the number.
The divisibility rules? You should have them written in your journal or glued in your journal or something. We put a foldable or something in your journal. So, Lizzie, how many times does 5 go into 8?
1 time.
1 times 5 is 5. Lizzie, 8 subtract 5 is?
3.
3. Bring down the 6. Lizzie, how many times does 5 go into 36?
5 plus 3 is 6.
That's what I asked.
5 times.
7 times.
7 times 5 is?
7 times 5 is 35.
35. Subtract 1. Bring down the 5. 5 goes into 15 how many times, Lizzie?
3 times.
3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract 0. Lizzie, are you sure it's correct?
Yes.
How could you prove it?
1 and 73 hundredths times 5.
Good. Take my quotient. 1 and 73 hundredths. Multiply by my divisor. Times 5. I could ignore the decimal point. Multiply first without looking at the decimal point. 5 times 3 is 15. 35 plus 1 is 36. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the problem. 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the answer. Very good. Now we have this problem over here. Let's start by asking Miss McLean, if I took these parentheses off, would it change how the problem's done?
Yes.
Why?
Because somebody could do 2 and 7/10 divided by 6 and then add up.
Good. Without the parentheses, if there were no parentheses, we would divide before we add. But since there are parentheses, we start in there. And let's call on... No, you're not paying attention over here. No. You have your finger in your nose. No, not you. Oh, Miss McLean. What is 8 and 1/10 plus 2 and 7/10?
10 and 8 tenths.
10 and 8 tenths divided by 6. So I want to take 10 and 8 tenths, divide that by 6, decimal point straight up. Does 6 go into 1, Miss McLean?
No.
No. Does 6 go into 10, Miss McLean?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to have a number in the ones place and the tenths place. Now, looking at my divisibility rules for 6. Does anybody remember what the divisibility rules for 6 are? Excellent. If the number is divisible by 2, so if this was just 108, is 108 divisible by 2? Yes, because it ends in an even number.
Yeah.
Okay? So to be divisible by 6, it has to be divisible by 2 and 3. Is this number divisible by 3? 108. Awesome. It is, because the sum of the digits, 1 plus 0 plus 8, add up to 9, and 9 is a multiple of 3. So boom shakalaka. We've reviewed that now. Look at what we've done. We've talked about our vocabulary of quotient, dividend, divisor. We've talked about how annoying kids are that are whistling in class. We've talked about how to check division. Now we're talking about how dividing with decimals. We talked about multiplying with decimals. Now we reviewed some divisibility rules. All of this comes together to form that raw chicken squeezy. All right, so Miss McLean, how many times does 6 go into 10?
1.
1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6 is what, Miss McLean?
4.
4. Bring down the 8. 6 goes into 48. How many times, Miss McLean?
8.
8. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract 0. Boom. Are you sure that's correct?
Yes.
How would you do that?
You multiply 1 and 8 tenths times 6.
Okay, my quotient of 1 and 8 tenths times my divisor, which is 6. And I want it to equal my dividend, which is 10 and 8 tenths. 48, 8, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. One number behind the... Oh, boom! It worked. Boom, it worked. Just making sense. Jamie. Yeah, with division. Yeah, let's look at one. Let's look at one. I'll do a simple one. You want to check multiplication. So, remember when you did the fact families? When you were just a tad young lass? If we did 6 times 8. Jamie, what's 6 times 8? 48. Now the inverse of multiplication is division. So I could take one of my factors, let's take 8, divide that into my product, and I should get my other factor. Make sense? Then, I don't know, maybe by this time of your schooling, you should know your multiplication facts. Then it would make it very difficult for you. Let's look at another one. 23 times 17. Solve that for me. 23 times 17.
On the start test, the first thing I did was make a value chart, and then I made a multiplication chart. Wait,
I got a
value chart?
Place value.
There's only like 2.
All right, we're working on this. Solve this problem for me. If you can put down Minecraft long enough to do it.
I can actually.
I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, Lizzie, but
I got my
Well, I love my.
I know you do. And it's sweet of you to love it.
I'm gonna check it up.
Lizzie,
What?
when you get the answer to 23 times 17, will you tell me that? Will you
Got
tell-
it.
What is it, Lizzie?
391. I got the same.
Is she correct?
Yes.
All right, so our product is 391. So now my young friend Jamie, she wanted to know if you could use division to check multiplication. I take my product, 391. I divide it by one of my factors. I'm going to pick 23 because I can count by my 23s better than I can count by my 17s. I'm just saying. And what I want it to equal, if my quotient is 17, then they match up and we've done right. We've done right. Remember, this is just fact families. Just like you did 6 times 5 equals 30. 5 times 6 equals 30. 30 divided by 5 equals 6. 30 divided by 6 equals 5. When you did those when you were... Now, some people in this room are still that tall. But when you were this little, you learned... I'm not talking about... Okay, so Jamie, how many times does 23 go into 39? 60. Hey, Jamie, how many times do you think 23 is going to go into 161? Maybe 7. I'm going to check. 23 times 7, 21. 1, 2, 14, 15, 16. Oh, boom! Shakalaka. Boom. Shakalaka. All right, I'm going to put two more up here. I want you to solve them. Let's do 6,300 minus 600 divided by 3, and then 5 and 1900 minus 3 and 3500 divided by 8. All right, so you two solved, or you four solved these. I'll call two of you to come up to the board to show me how you solved it. If you're solving it at home and you want to know if you got the right answer, call this phone number, 8675309. 8675309. 8675309. 8675309.